We're on.
Yeah, we're live.
Good afternoon, Havering Means Business. Happy Monday. Hope you're having a good start to your week, and welcome back to our Meet the Member Facebook/LinkedIn Live. This month, we have the pleasure of being joined by James Cooks from Foster Studios. Hi, James. How are you?
I'm very well, Cassie. Thank you for having me on.
Good. How was your weekend?
It was okay. It was maybe a little bit too hot for me. I'm not crazy on the super scorcher hot weather. I don't mind it when it's like a nice, low 20s, mid 20s. But yesterday when it was, no cloud cover, 30 degrees, yeah, it was way too much for me. But it's topping up the tan, so can't complain.
We've been watching a lot of Glastonbury this weekend, and every year we sit and watch it on the telly and we go, should we go next year? Should we go next year? But I think it just might have been a bit too much for me in this heat this weekend.
Yeah, I was having a few looks at the highlights of the Elton John gig yesterday, and I mean, as amazing as it is, I honestly can't think of anything worse than being in the middle of that crowd. Like, imagine you get in there and you really need a toilet or something, and Elton's coming on in 5 minutes. That would be. I mean, this is my mindset, and it's the exact same when it comes to business. Like, I always think of the worst case scenario of what could happen. But no, it looks amazing. Like, I've been to a few festivals over the past couple of years. Obviously, not so much because of COVID, but you just can't beat live music. It's so good.
No, absolutely. We're going to a festival at the end of August called Victorious down in Portsmouth. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But anyway, we digress. So listen, why don't you tell us about what you do, James, and let's start from there.
Okay, no worries. What do I do? Well, it's always a tricky question to answer because I do, I suppose, a lot of different things, but within one industry. So I run a business called Foster Studios, which is a very small, very humble. I'm never really sure whether to describe it as a video production company or a video agency, but in essence, I work with businesses to devise videos that sit on their social medias, their websites. It could be for internal uses. So yeah. I make videos for businesses essentially. So that ranges from recruitment videos. So if businesses are looking to hire new staff in and they're not sure how to best approach that, a recruitment video is a great way of finding new candidates. It could be promotional videos. So I think we all know what that is. It speaks for itself, sits on a company website, says all the great things about what you do. Could be case studies, could be testimonials. Like, we did a couple of years ago, Cassie, where I came into your office and interviewed a few of your clients. So huge range, huge diverse pool that I work within, and yeah, loving every minute of it.
Yeah, so as James said, we've had some client testimonial videos done that sit on our Savello website, and the experience was just fantastic. Just, we tried not to be in the room when you were filming with our clients, and I think that helped because you just get a real honest opinion, and there's nothing better than actually seeing someone in person describing their experience of the work we've done with them, and they've been really well received on our website, and we share them everywhere because we're a bit noisy. So they're all over our social media, all over our website. They've been really, really well received. So how long have you been in this industry, James, and how did you get into the industry?
So in terms of how long I've been in the industry, I mean, it feels kind of silly to say, but I've been in it since the end of 2014, really. So, obviously you only have to look at me to see that I'm a fairly youngish guy still. I'm 27. So I started when I was 18. So even though that was a really young age to start, that was when I got my first paid job. So if we're going, by that, then that's kind of when I made my first inroads into the industry. And it was just editing for a YouTube channel at the time. They were a football predictor game, but they kind of had a bit of investment behind them, and they made weekly YouTube videos, and I had quite a long-term relationship with them.
Like a games company?
Yeah, so they were. It was just like what is it on Sky Sports Super Six, I think, where you predict the football scores, and they were very similar. And I'm not sure if I've even got that right, but it was essentially a football predictor game called UMax It Football, and I edited
Okay.
videos for them. They then developed into what is now known as Tifo Football, and they've got millions of subscribers on YouTube. They were acquired by a
Okay.
very large company called The Athletic, so they did really well, and I got to oversee that whole transition from a very small business into a bigger one. And
All
then
right.
I also worked with businesses like more agency focused, so similar to what I'm doing now. I worked with a company called Kids Know Best in children's media. So I worked with their clients, National Geographic Kids, Penguin Random House, did a lot of videos for them, a lot of my own freelance work. And then I'm not going to go into my whole education, but went to uni, did all that, studied film and TV. And then upon leaving uni, went and worked for a company called Secret London. And that was where I kind of got more into the, I don't know, business side of it a little bit more, because I got to see how they
Yeah.
worked with clients. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, that was when I started to get a bit more freelance work come my way. And when it started to kind of surpass the work I was doing with Secret London, I was like, right, now it's time
Yeah.
to make those steps. But yeah, it's been a
Yeah,
long
Secret
journey.
London, they've got a massive Instagram following, haven't they? I mean, I followed Secret London on Instagram.
Yeah, so
Um,
they've got a really big following across Facebook and Instagram, and I think they're growing on TikTok as well now. But my role essentially with them was to create. I'm sure you might have seen in the past. They've had small videos done with brands like Singleton and Guinness and loads of it's primarily drinks brands, but they would essentially be paid by these companies to create a small 30 to 60-second video, which would then sit on the Secret London Facebook and Instagram channels, and that's how they
right.
would make their money. And my job was to make those videos alongside smaller editorial pieces. So if there's like a cool event going on in London, it might be a case of I would reach out to the event holder and say, love the look of your event that's coming up. Do you mind if I make a small video? And I love
Yeah.
that job because it got me access to anywhere, literally anywhere in London. Like I could go to the Natural History Museum after hours and, go and film in some really cool places just under the Secret London name. So that was a really good learning experience for me. And yeah, it was a hell of a lot of fun.
Brilliant. Okay, and then so what's been how did you start out on your own then? What made you make that leap?
Really good question. I don't think anyone really knows when is the right time to make that jump into making your own
No.
business. I think for me, it was where I'd worked with my own clients previously. I had quite long-standing relationships with what were at the time clients, but because I was quite young, I wasn't business savvy, and I saw them more as
Right.
companies that I worked for rather than viewing them as clients. So there were like Kids Know Best were one client that I worked with, almost as a full-time job, and then there were about one or two other clients that I had long-standing relationships with, and I think it was maybe working particularly with Kids Know Best. I know I've referenced them a few times, but I saw them go from like a two-man team into what is now a 50-person company.
Right.
I think it's around that many people, and I saw the ins and outs of how a startup works. I was very heavily involved in pitching for work with clients, liaising directly with clients, and I think it was just that whole startup mentality.
Yeah.
It really fueled my excitement around starting a business, and just I love what I do. Don't get me wrong. I love making videos. That's why I do what I do. But I also love the business side of it. It sounds silly, but I like negotiating. I like planning out things. I like budgeting. Like it sounds really stupid, but that part of it, the financial aspects, obviously, we're in this to make money, right? That's
Yeah.
why we do what we do. And I quite enjoy thinking about new ways to make income, to make revenue, new offerings I can put out to businesses, whilst also keeping it cost effective. What can I invest in myself in terms of equipment? Can I build an online course around something? It's all those different things that were ticking over in my head. And it was just when I started acquiring my own clients in 2019 that I was like, well, I feel like I'm in a position to do this. If I can just match what I'm making at Secret London, which wasn't a
Yeah.
great amount at the time because it was like a graduate job. I wasn't long out of university. I just thought to myself, if I can do that, but with my own clients, then I'll be okay. As a
Yeah.
first year, then obviously that first year was COVID, so that was more of a challenge than I expected it to be. So I basically didn't work for the first 6 months of the year. But in
Yeah.
those 6 months of 2020, after July, I still managed to make more than what I'd done in my role at Secret London. So that
Right.
really was what made me really passionate about doing this, and made me just have the mindset of, even if I've got to struggle a little bit, I would rather make this work on my own terms than going
Yeah.
back to employment. So yeah, it was just I think it was, a mixture of all those things. But I think even though I was technically in my first year in 2020 in business, I think it was that year that made me really, devoted to setting out on this path.
Yeah, yeah. I think as well the one of the beauties of working for yourself and being, running your own business is you can be as creative as you like. And I suppose for someone like you, that's it's just a big part of where your mindset is. And so how do you typically come up with concepts for videos? Where does that start?
So I think I've got a good blueprint already for
Mm,
videos, and I'm not someone that is meticulous in terms of planning, in terms of writing scripts, because I feel like a lot of the work I do, if you just go on my website and you look at promotional videos, they're very natural, they're very organic. I feel like as soon as you write a script and have someone sat down delivering to a camera, it just suddenly becomes very staged and very
yeah,
unauthentic, if that's a word. So I try not to go for that look. I just want people to give natural answers to questions that are going to bring the best responses out of them. And I typically work with clients to devise what those questions are. And then I feel like that's just a lot more. I use the word natural a lot, but that's what it is. Like we spoke about it earlier with the videos we did for you guys. So long as you can make the person you're interviewing feel comfortable,
yeah,
then you're almost certainly going to get a really good answer out there. It doesn't happen all the time. There are some people that hate being in front of the camera, but yeah, I think if you look at my style of work, it does feel very, very organic, very natural,
yeah,
and that's the style I try to go with because I've seen a lot of stuff where it is just person talking barrel down the lens, and it does work, and sometimes it has to be done. But for my style and the work that I typically get brought in to do, it doesn't quite match up. So yeah, I think the best way I would describe it is story-driven video content. I always want there to be a narrative behind it, and you can't really get that if you've got someone that's reading off a script, because
yeah.
it feels a little bit too staged and too corporate. So I like getting a load of answers from a load of different people, seeing what I've got to work with, and then weaving it together into something that makes sense and tells a really good story. And the good thing about that is it requires quite little input from the client side as well, because they don't have to plan a script and devise questions. We work together on that sort of thing. So I think it works well for all parties involved.
I think when you're looking for a service, or you're looking to buy into a product or something like that, you want it to feel organic and not, like you see when I've been to America, you watch TV and you watch adverts and stuff like that in America, and it's all very, over the top and a lot of information. And whereas if something's just, if you're just having a chat with someone and showing people like that, I've seen some of you did a restaurant video recently, didn't you?
Yes, so that was with a restaurant in Mayfair called Delfino, which is quite a new Italian restaurant. I mean, if you go there, unfortunately, we couldn't really get any exterior shots because they've still got scaffolding around the whole place.
Oh
But
no.
I mean, none of that was planned. Like, obviously, the food, the menu, we obviously had to decide what dishes they were going to serve, and we had
Yeah.
models in. But the shots we got of the models eating the food and the shots we got in the kitchen, you can't plan any of that really.
No.
Like you've just got to wait and see what happens, what
But
reactions you get.
James, it works. It works because I saw your video on LinkedIn, the promo video you did for them, and straight away I've clicked it. I've sent it to Chris. I said we need to go here. Look at how nice this looks, and that's what you want people to think when you're having a video done about your business or your product. You want people to go, oh, look at that. That looks amazing. I'm in. So yeah, that definitely worked. It definitely worked for me. So, but when you're putting a video like that together, how long does it typically take, like from filming to end result?
So in that example you mentioned there, that's actually quite a I don't want to say simple video to do, but compared to one where there's loads of interviews to put together,
Yeah,
it's actually more it's easier for me to work with in the edit, because with something like that, where it's the case of a restaurant, essentially all that footage is what would be referred to as B-roll. And so to define a difference between A-roll and B-roll, A-roll would typically be an interview and B-roll might be a cutaway. So when we work together, the A-roll would be the interviews we did, and the B-roll would be when we got those shots of you and Chris chatting with your clients, and then we overlaid that over the top. So
yeah,
one's got audio, basically. So in that case, with the restaurants, it's very much just get those really cool shots, find a good music track, make sure the colors look great, and then put it together in the edit. And then obviously you've got to make it work and find a story behind it. In that case,
Yeah.
it was the lights turning on and then the different dishes coming out, the starters, the mains, desserts. So that's a more basic one to put together. But when you're working with like a much bigger project, so there's a campaign I'm working on at the minute with a company who are celebrating their 25th anniversary, and they've done like 3 shoots with me. There's still one more to go. So
Okay.
many interviews and so much footage. And with that, you're basically just looking at hours upon hours of stuff in front of you and just like, okay, where do I start? So in those times, it can be really difficult where you've got so many interviews from so many different people, all talking about different things, and you've just got to find a way to make it work and weave together.
Yeah.
It's hard to say how I really plan that out because, I mean, it just kind of it starts to make sense as you put stuff together in an order. So someone might say something that leads on really nicely to what someone else says, and suddenly you're diverting conversation quite naturally.
Right.
So yeah, it's just trial and error in the edit, I think, and
Yeah.
that's why editing can take so long, particularly in those cases, because although there's not heavy animation or really intricate work being done, it's just okay. How do we make sense? How can I match this interview from one individual with another individual that's speaking about something completely different, but the client is adamant both people need to be in this video. So how do I make that work? So yeah, it's just a lot of trial and error in the edit in particular.
Right. Okay. And then what are your plans for, let's say, the next year? What have you got coming up that you're excited about?
The HMB Expo. What else?
Of course.
No, genuinely, I am looking forward to that. I know it's been a year since we did. Well, it's been over a year, hasn't it? It's been like 15 months or something.
March we did the expo last year. Thank you for bringing that up, by the way, James.
No, that's the right little plug.
And we're going again in September this year, but we're going to be at the Seymour campus this year, so it's a huge space. And thank you so much for agreeing to do some work for us on that day, because I think we've got some great sponsors this year as well, and it's going to be quite a big event, and I couldn't think of anyone better to help us showcase that.
Yeah, it was a great day as well, and I have to say, I've never done an expo before that day. I was very I was nervous about doing it, but I just found it a really enjoyable day. Like, it absolutely flew by, and I was really amazed, delighted by how many people came up to me who, they might not have even been interested in what I do, and I can't even remember if I've spoken to them since, but just showing an interest. I think that was really good. So I'm not there to, obviously I am there with part of me in my mind is like, it'd be great to get some business out of it, but at the same time, just making connections with people.
Definitely.
And one really good connection I made that day was I actually met my mortgage advisor, who has been incredible for me this year. Like, they helped me get a mortgage. As a self-employed person, that is incredibly difficult, particularly in this market. And they managed to find me one at a very good interest rate. So that was an amazing connection I made. I got a couple of clients that day as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one in a couple of months. I don't want to say I'm counting down the days, but I have got one eye on it in my diary, and I'm really looking forward to that. So that's in the immediate future, I'm looking forward to that. But I'm not going to beat around the bush. Like, this year has probably been my most difficult since COVID. The economy has just been really difficult. I don't want to blame that for having a I don't want to say a slow year, but an inconsistent year. Whereas last year was very much I knew kind of where I was from month to month. This year it's been very much I've had one fantastic month, one slow month, one fantastic month, one slow month. So it's just been really up and down. And thankfully, things are on the up now. July looks really good. And typically, my year doesn't really properly kick into gear until about this time onwards. In the build up, I know it sounds crazy, but in the build up to Christmas. Companies have got their budgets now. They're looking to spend. So I'm hoping really strong second half of the year. And then, I think it would be optimistic for me to say it'd be as good as last year. But from, having conversations with many of my clients, they're all saying the same things, that they'll be surprised if they exceed what they did last year. So if anyone is doing, better than they did last year, I mean, you're doing something really, really good. Like, honestly, the economy is so tough. I think it was at 4% last year, and right now it's at minus free. So that just shows how difficult the market is if I've got my numbers right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm grateful to be ticking along. I think, I invested a lot in equipment last year. I've got a really good set of equipment now, and I'm not looking to invest any more in that anytime soon. But I think come the end of the year, I might just be like, okay, there might be 1 or 2 pieces that I need to finish the jigsaw. And then next year, I just want to go all guns blazing, as many clients as possible.
So
Hopefully take this next level.
tell us, James, who would your ideal client be? Who would you love to work with?
I honestly love working with SMEs. I work with a huge variation of businesses. My biggest client is Hamleys. They're obviously a very reputable brand, and I love doing work with them. But obviously, they're a company that have got marketing expense. They've got budget. They plan years in advance for this sort of thing, and there's money put aside for it. But I think what I really get a buzz and a kick out of is working with much smaller businesses who, might view what I do as a luxury rather than a necessity.
Yeah.
But then seeing the return on that investment, whether it raises their profile, gets them a new client, helps them hire the right person for a job that they're struggling to fill, I really get a real buzz out of that. So I think any SME that wants to create a great video for their business, I mean, that's what I really enjoyed, the whole planning, conceptualization. I think for me, they're the ones that are more grateful for the work that I do. Not that, some of my bigger clients aren't, but because, like I said, they've got, this is part of their plan every single year. Whereas, like I say, if I'm working with a smaller business, it's something that might come around once in a blue moon. So, if it's something, if there's any SMEs that are watching this, then, you're my ideal client, 100%.
And I could definitely vouch for James, because as I said, the videos we have done with our clients, that they've just been fantastic. And we asked a bunch of our clients if they wanted to take part, thinking that 1 or 2 of them would say yes, and the rest of them would be like, oh no, I don't want to do that. But we ended up, I think was it 6 different?
It was a lot, because I remember I came back twice to film. So I think that those are the, like, for any SME that is interested in doing video but doesn't quite know where to start, I would always say the case study video is probably a really good one to start with, because you don't have to go on the camera, you don't have the pressure of talking about your business. Get someone else to do it, and who's better than your client, especially if you've got a good relationship with them.
The reason we chose to do the videos in the way that we did with our clients is because at the end of the day, as a business, they're the most important part of our business. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. And I don't think we're unique in that. Everyone, values their clients, and especially at the moment, right? So what better way to showcase your business than have the people that have used your business to improve their life? And we've had some really, really positive feedback from your videos. So again, thank you very much.
No, you're very welcome. Very welcome.
So anyway, listen, we're gonna wrap this up now, James, and thank you so much for coming on today. So if anyone did want to get in touch with you, how could they get in touch?
So great question. My website is fosterstudios.co.uk, and you can fill out a form there to get in touch, but that sounds way too formal, so I would say just get in touch with me on LinkedIn, James Cook, Foster Studios on Instagram, and I'm in the Facebook group, so if you want to, I'm not a big user of Facebook, but if you want to drop me a message on there, I'll be sure to get back to you.
And what we'll do, James, we'll post all your links along with the videos today that will be going out on, obviously we're live on Facebook, live on LinkedIn, but you can find all of James's links somewhere within this post. So what we're going to do, if it's okay with you, James, is we'll wrap this up now, and we're just going to show your show reel. So thanks again.
What better way to showcase your business than through film? At Foster Studios, we work with companies to help bring their brand to life. Perhaps you want to stand out on social media, or to create a film telling the story of your business and all those involved in it. It could even be used to find the right employees. Whatever your objectives, we make video work for you. Whether you're a big business or a small business, let's make something amazing together.
And there you go. That was fantastic. Thank you so much, James. And we look forward to seeing you at the Haver and Means Business Expo in September. And yeah, we'll wrap that up there. Thanks again.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for having me on, Cassie.
No problem. Bye.